Hello, everyone. You're welcome to this driving test tips live stream. It's good to be with you here this evening. Hopefully, this driving tips video can help get you on the right path for the week. And if you have a driving test coming up tomorrow or later in the week, you'll have your questions answered and you'll get some advice and information on what to do and what you should not do. Okay. I will be sharing with you some road signs, not just the road signs you see on screen here. By the way, let me know if you know what these signs mean there. I'm sure Wojciech will be first in with it. But if you do have any idea about those signs, let me know in the comment section. I'll be analysing this driving test report sheet of somebody who recently failed their test. I'll be sharing with you what the tester said and what they acknowledged went wrong, what the learner acknowledged went wrong, and I'll be sharing lots more tips. I'll be answering your questions, so get them in if you want to, or email me as well. My email is there, danetyghe@gmail.com. So if you'd like me to analyze your report sheet to maybe point you in the right direction, you might not know where you went wrong, or you might not remember what the tester said to you, email me there, danetyghe@gmail.com, and I will get back to you, usually within a day or two, and I'll give you a detailed breakdown of the driving test. Okay. So yes, very welcome. Get your questions in if you have any. myroadsafety.ie, that's the online portal where you have to go to manage your test booking. Um, I've often said before that the RSA don't take phone calls from learners, but it turns out that they do on occasion, but they generally will point you in the direction of the website myroadsafety.ie in order to manage, maybe cancel your test, or maybe choose a date or whatever, or if you want to change your test center or whatever. So that's where you go to manage your test booking. If you would like to support me on this channel, you can do so by Revolut or PayPal. Completely voluntary. Links will be in the description to this video and all the other videos as well I have. Any support, folks, much appreciated. Thank you in advance. And I have recently joined TikTok, so if you want to check out my videos on TikTok, the handle is there, Dane Taiwan. So go over there and give me a follow if you're on TikTok, and you'll see a bit of a lighter side to my driving videos over there. But YouTube is more serious. That's where we get down to business, which is what we're going to do now by having a look at some of the comments that are coming in here already. Wojciech, first in. Dobry wieczór, Wojciech. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Let me know those signs, if the 5 signs on screen. I have more signs as well coming up later, but these 5 are the first batch of signs I have for you. So good to see you, Wojciech. Ramin Wafa says hello. Hello to you. Ivapo. Hello, thanks for hosting live stream. You're very welcome. I like to help you folks get where you want to be when it comes to driving. When I first started out as a driving instructor, I shared another driving instructor's videos on his website, and he got very, very sensitive about it. He demanded I take them down. So I always said to myself, when I get to the stage that I'm able to make videos, I certainly won't be putting them behind some paywall, and I won't be guarding them with my life. I'll be sharing them out there for you to watch as you wish, and share them as you wish. If it's a website, if you're an instructor and you're doing a website, you can embed any of my YouTube videos on your website. You don't have to ask permission. They're freely available, okay? Anyway, back to a few more comments before I share with you some tips that I got from other learners, like their experiences. I've got about 5 or 6 learners' experiences here. I'm going to briefly go through them. I'm going to share their stories with you, so you can learn from it and so you can avoid those pitfalls, or gain some knowledge. Couple more comments though first. I think Ivapu was last. Ashley Cregan, I'm not sure. Hey Dane, you're 100% the reason I passed my test first time. Well, Ashley, you're very kind. I'm sure had a bit to do with you now and your own driving lessons you got. But it's very nice of you to say that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, the videos are there to help you, and you can ask me any questions in the comments or by email, but it's very important to get lessons as well in your own local area, in your own town where you're doing the test, because while the videos are helpful, I wouldn't advise relying on them fully, because you can't be getting professional lessons off a qualified instructor in your local area. Okay, that's a should be a big priority for you. But thank you, Ashley. Patrick there says good evening. You're very welcome, Patrick. Good to have you. That name rings a bell. Well, I think, was I emailing you, Patrick, during the week? I think I was. I think so. Yagoda says hello. Hello to you. Una Kazaku. Thank you so much. Your videos, I've been watching all your videos. You're very welcome, Uana, if I'm saying that correctly. I think that might be Romanian or Moldovan, actually. And they really helped me, and I passed my driving test. Thank you. You're very welcome. Congratulations on passing the test. That's like anybody, whether it's Uana or anybody that passes the Irish driving test, you really know you've earned your crust then, because it's not that easy to pass, particularly if you're coming from a different country or a different background, to come over here and to drive on the left and to deal with all the stuff that goes on and the nerves. So whoever does it at whatever stage in life, it's a great achievement. So well done to you, Uana, if I'm saying that correctly. Ivapu, oh, first attempt at the sign. I thought Wojciech would be first, but Ivapu has one in here. Number 3, keep right. Yes, keep right. The sign number 3 there is keep right. Ivapu, well done. Well, yes, well done. Anna's right. She's just echoing my congratulations there. And Ivapu says number 5, upcoming yield sign. That's right. So number 5 there is an advance warning of a yield sign. So the sign is telling you that there's a yield sign coming up further up ahead. So it's giving you advance warning, because you might see that in an area where there's a lot of dips, or maybe a lot of bends, or possibly when you're coming to a 4-way crossroads, 4-way stop. So it's trying to give you advance warning so you're prepared for it, and so you can slow down early and gradually. There's Wojciech with the signs. He was probably just thinking about them, writing them down. So I'm sure these will all be right. Now, Wojciech, let's see. Number 1, no entry. That's right, no entry to vehicles. It probably be okay for pedestrians, possibly cyclists, but no entry is correct, yeah. Number 2 is a mini roundabout. Yeah, people are probably more used to the yellow sign with the little dot in the middle for the mini roundabout. That's another one that you might see, another mini roundabout sign that you'll see, particularly in England, but also sometimes here as well in housing estates, or maybe industrial estates, probably more so. So that's correct, Wojciech. Well done. Number 3 is keep right. Yes. Number 4 is pedestrianised street. That is correct. During the time shown, if there's should be a kind of an information plate underneath it. And number 5, advanced warning sign. Yes. Bravo, Wojciech. 5 out of 5. That's very good. Very good. And I have more signs coming up later as well. So stay tuned for that, folks. I've got about 20 or maybe 15 signs as well, which I'll get to maybe in half an hour or so. So Patrick, that's awesome. Yes, I think you're congratulating someone there. Patrick again, I'm having my driving test very soon. Bit stressed, but can't wait to do it. Yeah, live in the moment, Patrick. Breathing exercises, meditation, and don't be afraid as well to remind yourself how far you've come. Okay, from that first lesson when you were doing the basics to now doing the driving test, it's sometimes good for a learner to remind themselves of how far they've come as a driver, and you should gain confidence from that. So the best of luck to you, there, Patrick. Armstrong Ndamba, good evening, Dane. Thanks for hosting this live. You're very welcome, Armstrong. It's a great name. You're more than welcome to let me know if you have any questions, or you can email me as well. My email is there, danetyghe@gmail.com, and it's in the majority of my videos as well, in the description, that is. Emily, hello. Anybody else unable to log into the RSA website? There's a good question. Is anybody out there having trouble logging into the RSA website? I presume they mean the My Road Safety Portal. If you are having trouble logging in, let us know here, folks. Let us know your trouble, and just so we can share that information. So I know some people have, the RSA have kind of made it be known that sometimes people with Apple phones are having a bit of trouble logging in. I'm not sure why that is. It's something to do with the software or something. So if you're having Apple iPhone or Apple iPad, you may have certain difficulties logging into the My Road Safety online portal. I'm not sure why. Let us know anyway if you're having any trouble. Okay, let's see another few comments there. Then, and Patrick, it is you. Yes, I thinking I was emailing you earlier in the week. So good to see you again there, Patrick. Nice to see you. And we'll come back to. Oh, Uana says Romania. Yes, I was actually giving a lesson to a lovely lady here in Wexford. Oh God, about 3 or 4 years ago, and her name was Uana as well, from the great country of Romania. Yes, so I was thinking that was it. So hello to you, Uana. Now I'm going to share with you some tips, and I'm going to get to the rest of the comments there now, like Maria and Ivapu and Patrick there as well. So I regularly get emails from people. I get hundreds of emails every week, and people are asking questions or sharing report sheets. And I'm just going to share with you some of their little stories now, folks, because I think these little stories or little bits of info could help you. Okay, so one learner emailed me in. I think she was doing her test somewhere, probably in the southeast. I'm not sure, but she was coming up to a T junction. Okay, she had a question about a T junction now, and this is one of those areas where I can give my own piece of advice to her. I can give her tips and info, but I don't know the roads. I can't say with any certainty what's the 100% the right thing to do. Okay, but she was coming up to a T junction. Okay, and there was a pedestrian crossing literally right in front of the stop line. So it meant that if you were to creep out, you would be creeping out over the pedestrian crossing. She said that her instructor, that's her driving school, so remember, instructor is the driving instructor, like the teacher, like say the driving teacher, like me. So instructor is a driving school, tester is a driving tester, like examiner. Okay, so let's get that kind of clear, because some people mix them up. But her instructor was telling her that, oh no, you can't stop on the pedestrian crossing because you'll end up blocking it. And then she was kind of confused because, well, how do I creep out to get a better view if I'm not allowed to stop on the pedestrian crossing? So my advice to her was, make sure that you stop before the pedestrian crossing first, do your checks, and make sure there's no pedestrians either side of you. And then, yes, creep out, edge out to get a better view, even if that means stopping and rolling over the pedestrian crossing in that specific case, in her unique case. Because I don't see any other option unless you get out of the car and use your binoculars or something like that. There is no other option. So that's what you do. Now look at that's what's the right thing to do. That's what's the practical thing to do. I don't really care what some other driving instructor said to her, because if you're in the real world, that's what you do. Make sure there's nobody on the pedestrian crossing first, then creep out, get a better view, lean forward, lean your body forward, do lots of looks, because you can't really go from a position of blindness or partial blindness. Okay, so if you have any similar stories, let us know in the comments, folks. The next learner then was sharing with me a story about his own driving test. Okay, so he was very nervous. He was a bit older, he was a bit hardy, and he was doing his test, and he was very, because a lot of older drivers, they do get a bit nervous, more so than younger people, because they might not have the same level of confidence as they would have had 10 years ago. But he said that two things happened to him on the test that he was convinced would mean that he failed. He hit the curb on the turnabout. Now, not very hard, but he did hit it, okay? And the tester actually let down the handbrake for him. So I presume that he was moving off, for example, maybe at lights or maybe on a hill start or something like that. And the handbrake wasn't down fully. Now maybe there was a warning bell sound, or maybe the tester just intervened for the sake of the car. But the tester actually physically let down the handbrake the rest of the way. Now, when the learner realized that the tester was sort of intervening in this, say, in this way, for want of a better phrase, he thought, oh, just that means I failed, and he kind of sort of relaxed a little bit then, and he was convinced he failed, not just because he hit the curb, but because the tester let down the handbrake. But as it turns out, he passed the test reasonably comfortably at the end, and he wanted to share that story, that even if you make a mistake, even if the tester does say something or intervenes a little bit, it is very possible that it might not be as serious as you think. A mistake is always more serious in a learner's head than in reality, okay? So he passed, he's delighted, he wanted me to share that story, and I appreciate him sharing that story with me, and now I'm sharing it with you. Never give up, don't lose hope. It's very good advice, folks. If you make a mistake in the test, remember, you can't do anything about it. Move on. It may not be as bad as you think, and you could, if you keep your composure, keep your focus, keep your concentration, you can make it up, and you can come back at the end of the test then with the good news to look forward to, that you passed your test, okay? So don't give up, very important. Next one then. A learner emailed me in saying that she only realised that her car's tax is out of date, but it's all paid for, she has an online receipt and everything like that, it's taxed, it's paid for, but she doesn't have the actual disc. So are you allowed to do a driving test even though the car is legally taxed? Now this is another one of those areas where it's good enough for the tax authorities, it's good enough for the Gardaí, but it's not good enough for a driving test, okay? You have to have your tax disc in the front windscreen, okay? That's the rules. If you don't have the tax disc and you just have some receipt that you paid for it, not going to work. It's not going to be good enough. Same with the insurance disc. And there's an exception with the NCT at the moment, but it's very important, folks. You cannot turn up for a test without a valid tax disc in your front windscreen, okay? There's very long NCT waiting lists at the moment, and there is an exception now, whereas even if your car's NCT is out of date by 3 months, you can still do a driving test as long as you can prove that you have an NCT test booked. Now that could be by a text message or a letter or something like that. But there is a 3-month exception on the NCT, but not on the insurance or the tax, okay? You have to have a proper tax disc and proper insurance disc with the green band on the side, okay? Let me know if you've had any issues with the NCT. I've heard stories of some testers still refusing to do tests with out-of-date NCTs, even though the RSA have put in an exception that if it's only 3 months out of date and you have an NCT booked, the test should still go ahead, okay? So if you have any updates on that or you have your own experience to share, just let us know here in the comments, okay? Next little bit of info from learners then. What was the next one? I have it here. Oh yeah, it was more of an inquiry, I suppose. It was just some guy was doing his test in Tala, and he naturally he wants to do his test really soon, but the waiting list in Tala in Dublin is very high. I think he was given he was saying he's been waiting since November to do the test in Tala, and the estimated time he's getting is June of this year. So that's like 7 or 8 months to do a test in Tala. In Finglas, he's getting an estimation of March to do his test in Finglas. So it's a little bit shorter in Finglas apparently. And he was asking me like, what do you think? Should I change test center and do it in Finglas instead of Tala, even though I know Tala better? Look, I can't really say. I'd always say to people you should do the driving test in the area that you feel most comfortable in. But if you really need a test quick because you need it for work or you're traveling or something like that, then you kind of might have to consider taking your chances in a different test center. So really, it's a personal choice. If you are going to change test center, hopefully you will have time to familiarize yourself with the new roads in the new area, get some lessons, and when you're getting the lessons, just make sure you ask the instructor, the driving school, about the particular tricky junctions or the black spots that cause people to fail, or there could be a set of lights that's a bit tricky, or it could be a 1 or 2 blind junctions that's caused people a bit of hassle. So just make sure you ask your instructor that. It's a personal choice. If you don't need a test in a rush, you're probably better off holding on and staying where you're more familiar. But if you want it quicker, you might want to consider changing test center. It's I can't really say. It's up to you at the end of the day. But I just thought that interesting that it's so long in Tala. I mean, if you have any other estimates there, folks, of any test centers, let us know there so I can find out. Another learner then. It's about blind spots. Let's see. Yeah, he was actually asking me about a question on the theory questions. Doing his theory test, that he noticed there was a question that was a little bit confusing. That the question was, when would you check your blind, or is it good to check your blind spots in slow moving traffic to watch out for cyclists and other road users? And the answer that the theory advises, yes, it is at certain times. And he was asking about that because he would have heard me saying that you should only get the blind spot when you're moving off from the side of the road, and possibly changing lanes, get a quick sideway glance. So you have to understand that when it comes to blind spots when you're moving, it's a lot different to checking the blind spot when you're in a parked position, okay? So when you're moving, your chin should not go beyond the shoulder at all. If you're checking the blind spot, it should be like this. See, like that? And that way your head is moving less far from the road, so you're not taking your eyes off the road for very long at all. And the same on this side, just a quick one like that. Maybe slightly more on that side because it's a bit more awkward if you're obviously you're sitting on the right hand side of the car, but it's only a sideway glance. If you're changing lanes at all, or you're kind of conscious of maybe cyclists or something like that, just the mirrors will do the majority of the work. So it's just a quick sideway glance, okay? There is a little bit of discretion involved. There's no one particular like cast iron rule that you follow on this. Like I would say, don't bother checking the blind spot if it's very busy in front of you. But if it's quiet in front of you and there's a lot of stuff going on behind, I would definitely get a quick glance then, a quick sideway glance, that is, okay? Now when you're moving off from a parked position, that's when you get the proper blind spot like this. Like you get your 3 mirrors first, because your head will go naturally from left to right. So you have 3 mirrors, and then make sure you get a proper blind spot. So your left shoulder, comes out like this, and you are looking out the back passenger window. and on the way to looking at the back passenger window, you're looking at the side passenger window and then the back passenger window, okay? Because that's where the blind spot is. It's not beside you, it's the back passenger window, okay? So again, it's kind of like a bit of a, you know, it depends on the situation. Generally, you'd be keeping your eyes focused on the road, but there are times when a blind spot is good and is necessary, and I'm going to be talking more about that now because this fellow was doing strange things on his test, and I'll get to that now as well about blind spots. And let's see one more then. No, that's the only one. That's the last main one there. I just wanted to draw your attention as well to the video I made a few days ago, on driving test tips, where I made a video of 10 of the most common questions that learners have asked me recently. So it's a recent video. On the thumbnail, you'll see these you'll see me with these sunglasses here. Okay, that's on the thumbnail, me doing that. So if you want to check that out, yellow thumbnail, I deal with some information there that could help you settle you down if you're unsure about anything, like about wearing sunglasses. And yes, you are allowed to wear sunglasses on the test and other things. So check that out. It's the one with the yellow thumbnail, the most recent video, and I share lots of information there, and I answer a lot of questions in that about the driving test. So check it out. Okay, let's get back to a few comments then, folks. Have I got everything done there? I think I do, yeah. Let's get back to the comments there, and then a few more comments, then we're going to get into this driving test here, and then we'll go on to some signs. Let's see, where were we? Yes, Anna there. Ivapu, Mali, yep. Mine is saying waiting time to go in is more than an hour. Maybe if we try again tomorrow. I'm not sure what that's in relation to. Marina Butler, Thursday's the day for me, and in an awful panic, Dane will be binging on your videos. Well, the best of luck to you, Marina. Perhaps the first video you might watch then is about driving test nerves. Altogether, I have 3 videos on driving test nerves, okay? I've made one recently, and I've made one there about a year ago where I think it's a green thumbnail and has a picture of a stop sign on it. So if you want to email me, I'll send you on those videos, and I give some tips on breathing, on living in the moment, on not letting your brain get carried away with the past and the future, but living in the present moment, okay, which is the key. And if you live in the present moment, it's going to help you block out any nerves, okay? So best of luck to you. Don't forget how far you've come as a driver, though. Remember that. You've come a long way already to get to this stage where you're doing the driving test. Patrick says, thanks, you're very welcome, Patrick. Always glad to help. Noah Line, hey then, my invite date is March the 6th. Would you have any idea when my test could be? Well, if your invite is on March the 6th, the test then should be, depends on how long the waiting list is. Sorry, so if you're going to get an invite on the 6th of March, you should have a test then 4 weeks later, give or take, depending on what way the software spits out the dates, you know. But that's Noah Line. Where is that, Noah? March the 6th probably is not the worst. That's only about, what is that, about 2 months away, so it's not too bad, I suppose. Depends how long you're waiting. Natalia Sukhanova, hi then, thank you very much for your work. My pleasure. Your videos are of great help. I have a question. Am I allowed to have a dash cam in my car during the test? No, you're not allowed to have a dash cam, okay? Tester might make a big deal out of that, and he might insist that it's plugged out. They can get very sensitive about that, okay, because of GDPR privacy rules. You're not allowed to have any video recording equipment or sound recording equipment on the test, okay? So my advice to you is make sure that the dash cam is out of the car. There's no wires, there's no leftovers there, just so the test doesn't get in a huff or get in a tizzy, okay? So best of luck to you though, Natalia. Wojciech, dobra mężczyzna. I've just noticed the mini roundabout sign on the screen looks like a sign from a different country. Right-hand traffic, yeah, I'm sure it does. I think it's a pretty universal sign, yeah. The arrows show counterclockwise direction around the round. Oh yes, they are. Hang on now, counterclockwise. This is, yeah. That the sign on screen there is counterclockwise. Am I reading? Am I seeing that right? Yeah, counter anti-clockwise. Yeah, sorry, clockwise. It's going like that. Pardon me, clockwise. Yeah. But sometimes you would have like if it was from Poland or from France or something, like it would be the other way, yeah, depending on what side of the road you're driving on. Politia Romana is, I think, speaking Romanian there, although I can speak English and Irish pretty well, a little bit of Polish, tiny bit of French. I can't speak Romanian, so hope Uana will. I'm sure Uana will get that. Patrick Barcy again. That's right. I usually slow down a bit on the approach of a pedestrian crossing, even if no one is there. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Patrick. It does depend on the crossing now. Like if there's no speed bump there and there's no pedestrians there, you can carry on pretty much at the same speed. But if there's a speed bump or some kind of rise in the road, then you'd want to slow down. I wouldn't be going slowing down just because it's a pedestrian crossing. Like it depends on who's there and how on the road surface. Okay, let's get on to this driving test report sheet here. Some interesting feedback here from a driver who's not originally from Ireland, and he came over here. He's living here, working away, and he did the test there very, very, very recently. So let me just get my book here, and I'm going to just give you the feedback. Okay. Now, unfortunately, he failed. Okay. The main reason he failed was he got too many grade 2 marks, but he failed on anticipating others. This was an incident at traffic lights actually, where he didn't see a car coming from the right. But let's get a little bit of background first. So this guy, he's mature enough. He has over 20 years experience. So I'd say he's in his 30s, or I say he's in his 40s at least anyway. He has over 20 years experience of driving. He's a bit of a traveler, so he's driven and worked in Pakistan, in Japan, and most recently in Saudi Arabia. Okay, now in Saudi Arabia he was there for the last 4 or 5 years, I think, and he said that the roads are much wider. It's not like driving in Ireland where you have narrow roads and Viking streets and all that kind of stuff. And obviously it was on the right hand side as well, so he found the adjustment a bit tricky, which is understandable. He is used to driving an automatic car, and when he came here, he ended up driving a manual. I sometimes wonder why people do that, but I suppose if they don't have much other choice, or there's not a wide availability of automatic cars here, manual is probably might be your only option. I suppose it depends. But I would say, like, if you're used to driving an automatic, folks, I'd probably stick with the automatic, okay? Because eventually all cars are going to be automatic anyway, as electric cars become more common in the years ahead. So he didn't have a whole lot of experience with a manual, and he knew that this was going to cost him a couple of marks, which it did. The grade 3 mark. This actually happened at the very start of his test. It's a funny one because he got it at kind of traffic lights. So he was coming out. He was taking a left turn, and he was at a set of traffic lights. Now, the set of traffic lights was like this. It was an amber light, okay, a flashing amber arrow filter. So it was like this, pointing to the left, but the flashing amber arrow filter light was flashing on and off, and that basically means the same thing as a yield sign. So you can go in the direction of the arrow. That's a flashing amber arrow light. You can go in that direction as long as there's no cars on the adjoining road or on the right or on the junction, let's say. If you see that flashing amber arrow light, it's basically the same as a yield sign. Okay, so you can go in the direction of the arrow, but you have to yield to any traffic on the main road. Now, he didn't see or didn't notice that there was a truck on the right hand side coming up, and I don't know whether the tester shouted stop or whether he slammed on the brake very suddenly. I'm not really sure, but he said that was why he got the grade 3 mark. And unfortunately, it was right at the very start. Didn't, that's not going to look good at the start of the test, and that's where he got that. Now, I thought the tester might mark him on lights, like not obeying traffic lights, but he marked him on anticipating others, which is fair enough because he didn't anticipate the truck coming up. Sometimes they'll mark it on whatever the most pertinent area is, and I guess the tester saw that the lack of anticipation was the main reason there for not obeying the lights properly. So that was why he got the grade 3, and it's a very important lesson for you folks. The flashing amber arrow light is not a very common light, but it is, it is out there. It is around. Like, there's only one of them in Wexford, for example, and Wexford is a big enough town. Like, it's not a small town, like, but in bigger towns you're more likely to find it. So if you do see that flashing amber arrow light, remember, you can go in that direction, but be very conscious of other cars or cyclists coming on the right or on the adjoining road, okay? It's very important you be careful of that. He noticed as well that driving in Ireland, there's a lot more narrow roads, a lot more tighter roads with different surfaces, and it can change in a matter of seconds. You could be on a tight road and then go onto a narrow road, and then go onto a wider road. And the learner said he found that a bit challenging, which is understandable because it can be tricky when you go through different types of roads, and it's not like a straight road all the time. He was confused about 50 zones and 30 zones. Sometimes he'd think the speed limit was 50, but then he might say, maybe it's 30. And I know a lot of learners are getting a little bit of a hang up on this, okay? Like if you're not sure, and I've dealt with this in the video recently, my most recent video on driving tips. If you're not sure, the driving speed limit is usually 50 kilometers if you're in town. But if you're in a housing estate, it could be 30, depending on the estate, because there are these special speed limit zones now, special go slow zones for housing estates. But think of you have to, like, whatever way you look at it, you have to always drive in a way that reflects the conditions. So slow down anyway. Like you don't like slow down anyway if there's a speed bump or if there's a hazard. You shouldn't need to be told to slow down or to drive slow because of some speed limit that happens to be there. Okay. So always drive in a way that reflects the conditions and reflects the road surface. That's the best advice I can give you. If you're in doubt, it's 50 if you're in town. That might be 60 on more outside of town. In a housing estate, it could be 30. It could be, might not be. But if it's a smaller housing estate and it's like a cul-de-sac, like a dead end, well then you can, pretty much be sure it's going to be 30 there anyway, because you probably wouldn't want to be going over 30 anyway in that type of housing estate. But look, as I always say, it's going to depend on the road. It's going to depend on the area. He also said on the he was talking about blind spots. Now this fella, as I said, had some experience of driving in Japan, and in Japan he was saying that when you take a left turn at a T junction in Japan, so let's say like a stop sign or something like that, you're taking a left, that it's very, very important there to get the blind spot. I presume he means the left blind spot there before he goes, and he kind of started doing this here as well. I'm not sure if he did it every time, but he did it a few times at least, and that is absolutely not required. Okay, there is absolutely no need to be getting shoulder checks like this or like this if you're at a box standard left turn or right turn or roundabout. Okay, like, fair enough if they're doing it in Japan, that's good for them, but like they're genuinely, I don't see the point of it, because if you're getting the work done beforehand, like if you're checking your mirror coming up to that junction, that stop sign for example, you're coming up to it, okay? So you check your mirrors, the middle mirror and the left mirror, and then you indicate, okay? And then as you get close to the junction, you check your middle mirror and your left mirror again. And even while you're waiting, like at the stop sign, if you're waiting a while, give a few old checks to the left mirror. There should really be no need to be doing any kind of blind spot checks to make sure that there's no cyclist there, because a cyclist or a motorbike rider, they have to have some responsibility as well. Like you can't be going babysitting other road users because they're too stupid or too careless to stay behind you or to be careful. So if you're checking your mirrors on the approach to the junction, that should be plenty of observation to watch out for cyclists and stuff like that. And bear in mind the road you're on as well. Like, you could be driving on a road in bad weather where there's very little chance that you're going to see cyclists, whereas maybe in the summertime there's more chance of seeing them. But while the blind spot might be a great thing to do in Japan because that's the culture there, that's the guidelines there, it's not here, okay? And naturally enough, you have to adapt your driving to suit the conditions and to suit the whatever the rules are in the country you're in. On the reverse, then, he made a slightly basic mistake, I suppose. If you notice down there, he got a mark on right of way reversing, okay? Kind of a needless mark. So he was reversing around the corner, and according to Tyghe, he did the reverse pretty well. Like, I mean, he got a minor mark on observation there. That's not really a big deal. He was probably looking behind reasonably well, and he good distance from the curb. But he yielded to a car. He gave way to a car coming behind him, okay? And then when the car that he was yielding to was, say, beside him, we'll say beside his right side mirror, so basically before the other car overtook him fully, the learner driver started to reverse again. Whereas the tester said to him afterwards, you moved too soon. You should have waited until the car had gone further ahead by at least 1 or 2 seconds further and then reversed, okay? Because it's still a little bit dangerous to reverse when the car is beside you and hasn't overtaken you fully. Because if you think about it, if you started to turn your wheel a little bit, like if you started to make a little bit of a left turn, the front of your car could be swinging out a bit. So the tester's absolutely right. You want to make sure the car is further away before you reverse. So that was an unfortunate and unnecessary grade 2 mark to lose. But he knows now he won't make that mistake again in future. And also then he acknowledges that because he wasn't really used to the manual car and he was more used to automatics, he knows that he lost marks on handbrake and clutch, and then a few other areas as well. Just even progress to a certain extent because he wasn't really used to the manual, so he was a bit rough around the edges with the clutch and the handbrake a few times. There might have been a bit of rollback, or maybe he didn't let it down fully or whatever. So he knows that, and hopefully he can learn from that. And the tester said to me I think he said he's a capable driver, a good enough driver, but he just needs more practice driving on the Irish roads and driving in a manual car. Okay, so let's go down through the sheet there now, and we'll have a look. I know we've dealt with some of the marks, but we'll just briefly go down through them now. First one, observation turning right. Now, it could be about mirror checks, but more likely it's about not doing enough looks at the junction. Let's say you're turning right, for example, at a stop sign, like you're going out from a minor road out onto a major road. It's usually about not enough looks like this. Maybe looking the one way too long, so the looks are not balanced. Maybe not creeping out enough. Perhaps not getting the last look. So when you're turning right, just before you turn right, there should be a sort of an increased frequency in looks. So if you have a feeling that you're going right and you're about to go, say in maybe about 2 seconds, you're gonna go. You can see the gap is there. Okay. So when that time happens, okay, be more frequent with the looks like this. You see that? And if you have that little bit more frequency with your looks just before you're about to go, it just shows that you're being extra observant and you're double checking and you're not staring the one way and you're getting the information into your head to confirm that the decision you're making is the correct one. So keep the looks going, and then just before you get to the halfway line, so say when you're halfway between the stop line and the middle line, you should then, so just before halfway even, just get one last look to the left end, and then that confirms everything is okay, and then on you go. It could be something like that. It could be, as I said, not creeping out, maybe possibly the mirrors, but more likely to do with not enough looks or looking the one way too long. There on observation turning right. And I've loads of videos on observation. I've commentary drive videos, I've test tips videos, so check them out, or I email me and I'll send them on to you. Hazards then. So a minor one there, and then the two grade 2 ones. So I think the hazards might have been to do with the unnecessary blind spots at junctions. So when he was taking a left, for example, at a T junction, he was looking over his shoulder like this a little bit before turning. I think that's where the marks would have come in. Other like hazards could be anything. It could be for checking the mirrors too much. It could be for doing ramps in the wrong way at the wrong speed. It could be for slowing down too quickly because you didn't read the situation ahead. It could be any number of things. The grade 3 mark there on anticipating others, that's because he misjudged the traffic light. He didn't anticipate the car coming at the light where the other car had the right of way. He only had the flashing amber arrow light, and he didn't give way, or he gave way too late. Maybe he braked suddenly, or maybe the test tried to say stop or something. So that's what that was. I dealt with that at the start. Progress, well, this is a common one for anyone, but this is a particular problem if you're a driver who's not lived in Ireland ever, or not lived in Ireland for a long time. Because I find that a lot of drivers who might originally be from the Indian subcontinent or Africa or Asia, they tend to, without tarring them all with the one brush, but they tend to, generally speaking, try and drive a little bit too slow in order to try and convince the tester that they're careful and cautious. But if you do that, you're not really convincing the tester that you're careful. You're just putting on a kind of an unnecessary act, and you're almost insulting the intelligence of the tester. So you have to drive in a way that's realistic and in a way that's confident, and show the tester that you're confident handling the car and handling the road conditions. Because if you just decide to drive 20 kilometers below the speed limit and you don't go when you have an opportunity to go, that doesn't show caution. That just shows lack of experience, lack of confidence. Okay, so on the straight anyway, I think he was probably, in fairness to him, he might have been a bit confused here with the speed limit sign. So he might have been driving on the straight a number of times, and he might have thought the speed limit was 50, or sorry, 30, and he was going below the speed limit. Say it was 30, he was going too far below. Maybe he was going 20, or maybe the speed limit was 50, but he thought it was 30. Okay, that's what I meant. Um, and look at this. I know it's hard to say. I know it's hard for me to say, like, but you have to always keep an eye on your speed limit signs. Okay, they're they're meant to stand out, kind of, red and white. So they should stand out. Um, Usually in town it's going to be 50, although there will be areas of town that it could be 60, and you may even drive further out of town, it could be 80 or even 100. It all depends on where you are. But if in doubt, it's 50 kilometers, okay? So just bear that in mind. Think of that, 50 kilometers in town, okay? Now, if it's a housing estate, it could be a 30-kilometer zone, but like, you really should be able to see the 30-kilometer signs. They're all fairly new signs. They're only out the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 years. Like, they're not like this 30-kilometer zone for housing estates is a fairly recent thing, and they're usually very well marked out. These signs are, okay, so keep an eye on those. But at all times, whether it's 30 or whether it's 50, try driving in a way that suits the conditions. As I said, so if you have a bend coming up, don't accelerate into the bend. If you can't see too far ahead of you, don't worry. We don't care about the speed limit then. Just drive at a speed that you're able to stop comfortably in the distance that you can see. If you have a speed bump, don't care about speed limits. Just slow down to about 20 kilometers, depending on the speed bump, and then gradually pick up speed. Then, um, I can completely understand how confusion can arise here. Okay, but you have to drive in a way that's practical and realistic. So keep an eye on your signs. Um, if it's safe to go, off you go. Just think 50 in town, and as I said to you, if it's a cul-de-sac, that's where like a dead end, like a housing estate, that's where you're going to have the 30 zone. Like, I live in a housing estate that's a cul-de-sac of 78 houses, okay, and we have one of those special speed limit signs, okay. It was in the last video, and it's well marked out. You see it on the entrance to the housing estate. So as you enter the housing estate, that's where you have to keep your eyes peeled, because that's where the sign is going to be most likely placed. There might be a few reminder signs as well, but it's probably going to be at the entrance. So when you're entering a new road, or entering a housing estate, keep your eyes peeled. That's where you might see the sign, and then that's the speed limit until you're told otherwise. And it's the same if you're taking a left turn or you're taking a right turn. Look, particularly, for example, I'm just thinking in my head now in Wexford, when you're going from a minor road out onto a major road, I'm thinking of a couple of T junctions, like stop sign T junctions. So minor to major, taking a right, taking a left, whatever. You'll often see, even when you're still on the minor road, you'll see a speed limit sign, say, of 50 or 60, and that's to remind you that the speed limit is not 50 kilometers for the last 50 meters on the minor road, but that's the speed limit on the next road. Okay, so you may, just when you're finishing with the old road and you're about to take a right, you might see a reminder speed limit sign there to let you know that this is the speed limit on the next road. So either just before you get to the stop line, or just after you complete your left turn, right turn, keep your eyes peeled, because that would be the best time to see the speed limit signs, okay, to remind you. All right, like, I wish they were more widespread, but they're not always going to be very widespread. Progress overtaking. Well, look, that is what it says it is. He was too slow overtaking. Now, this is, I don't know. He didn't tell me. He didn't tell me where this was. He was probably overtaking parked cars, or maybe a cyclist, or some other hazard or something. And he just held back too much. Like, he didn't go when he had the chance. So it all comes down to practice, maybe some more lessons. You have to take into account your own speed if you're moving or if you're stopping, and the speed of the cars coming up. Like, ask yourself, do they have a speed bump to go over? If they have a speed bump, well, they might be slowing down a bit then, and it might give you a chance to overtake and get back on your own side. Are they going uphill and you're going downhill? Well, that could give you a nice chance to get the overtaking maneuver done comfortably as well. So it's always going to depend on the situation that you're in, and how many parked cars there are. But like, in this case, the tester said there was only one grade 2. It's not a terribly big deal, like, but the tester said he was too slow overtaking. And related to this as well, like, when you're overtaking a line of parked cars and you don't have right of way, you have to stop behind the first parked car. and indicate right and give way to the oncoming cars, of course. But don't stop. Like, obviously, don't stop too close to the car, because if you stop too close to the car, you're going to find it a bit hard to get out. But at the same time, don't stop 3 or 4 car lengths behind the car, because that's like too far back, and you could be, that's where you can get a mark on progress overtaking, because you have so much more ground to cover before you even get level with the first car. All right, so make sure you stop about a car length and a half maybe behind the first parked car, and that means you're close enough to overtake comfortably, but you're also not getting too close to his back bumper. Okay. So as I said to you before on progress, the tester wants to see you being confident, decisive, and safe, but not too safe, because you have to be you have to be realistic as well. Progress turning left. So the tester is saying he was too slow on a left turn, and similar to what I was saying, maybe he didn't judge the speed of the other car. Maybe he didn't have confidence enough. Maybe it could have been at a stop sign. It could have been at a crossroads. It could have been going from a major road into a minor road, like turning left into a side road, maybe where he was probably like driving, but just driving very, very, very slow. It's not always like going from a stop position to a moving position. It could be when you're just going into the left and then just going really, really slow. Like you going in from a major to a minor road, you probably go in around 25-30 kilometers if it's safe. But I can't give you an answer, because it'll always depend on the road and how wide it is, or if there's any pedestrian bumps there, pedestrian crossings, whatever, speed bumps. So you just have to go in at a pace that's normal and realistic. But he did lose a few marks here on progress, so that was the one of the reasons that he failed, as well as the big red mark on the traffic lights that I mentioned. That I mentioned already. Vehicle controls, clutch and handbrake. So he was saying, as I said to you, he was having a bit of trouble getting used to the car because it was a manual. He was so used to driving automatics. Maybe he needed more practice. Maybe he needed more driving lessons to get used to the car. Who knows? It's a bit late now, but he may have been coasting a little bit. Maybe overusing the clutch. Maybe he came off the clutch too quick and caused the car to jump and jerk. That's probably the most likely area. Maybe he didn't get the clutch in, and the car was struggling, or the car was shuddering or chugging or something like that. No big deal, just a 1 grade, 2 marks, so didn't really cause him to fail. The handbrake one there as well, like, again, this is the thing with manuals, you have to have manual control of the handbrake to avoid the car rolling back. He didn't tell me exactly what happened with the handbrake, but I presume it was for not using it when he should have used it, maybe on a hill. Maybe he allowed the car to roll back a little bit, or maybe he didn't let it down fully. Maybe he was used to one of these automatic electric parking brakes, and he didn't let down the handbrake fully, and it made a beeping sound, or the warning bell came on, or something like that. But again, yeah, he just wasn't used to the manual cars. But hopefully now that he's had more time and more practice, he'll be better next time. Let's hope so. And in the reverse, a small mark on observation, so he probably was looking in the mirrors a little bit too much and not looking behind him. But it was only a grade 1 mark. The main reason for the mark on the reverse was, like he said, he yielded to the car, but he didn't let the car overtake him fully. He started the reverse. He stopped for the car, but then he didn't stay stopped until the car had overtaken him fully. The car was still beside him, and then he started reversing. As I said, that's not a good look, and I'm not surprised he got a mark on right of way there. So if you're going to yield on the reverse, you don't have to yield to every Tom, Dick, and Harry now. I mean, if just because you see a car behind you on the reverse doesn't mean you stop straight away. Like, doesn't mean you put the brakes on. You will have to stop, but like if he's 120 meters away, there's no need to stop then. Keep an eye on him, yeah. It's only when he gets about 50 meters away, give or take. Now, look, it will depend on how fast the cars are going, because if they're going faster, you'll have to stop when they're further away, and the opposite if they're going slower. So just remember that just because you see a car doesn't mean you have to stop straight away, okay? You can still make progress, because the tester's going to want you to make progress on the reverse as well. He's not going to want to spend 5 or 6 or 7 minutes doing the reverse around a corner. It should be a fairly quick maneuver, generally speaking anyway, okay? But if you are yielding to someone on the reverse, make sure that they have fully overtaken you before you go again. And remember, before you go again, like, so you've stopped for about 30 seconds, you've yielded to a couple of cars, okay? So make sure you don't just go back. You have to do this. Look all around first, both shoulders. Make sure you get both shoulders and then go back, okay? Another important tip, after you finish the reverse around the corner, okay, and the test says, okay, that's fine, we'll move off now. So don't forget to check the tree mirrors and the blind spot, as well as indicate. A lot of people, if they're indicating left on the reverse, they will leave the left indicator on and they don't indicate properly moving off. And then because they've just done the reverse, the whole thing is in their heads and they're not kind of in the right frame of mind. Maybe they're thinking about the reverse too much. They forget to do the tree mirrors and the blind spot. That sometimes is where marks are lost on observation moving off after the reverse or even after the turnabout as well, okay? So make sure you get your proper observations after the reverse and turnabout when you're about to move off. And don't forget to indicate right moving off, okay? Indicators are very important to use them properly. So that was the reasons why he failed his test. He was going to fail anyway because of that grade 3 mark. But how many grade 2s did he get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 grade 2s. Like, he's just, chap, he's probably not the worst driver in the world, you know. He's like, on grade 2s, he only failed by a couple of marks. But the grade 3 obviously cost him big time. So I hope that helps clear things up for you. I hope you've learned something from that. Let me know in the comments if you have any similar experiences to this poor old devil here. Okay, let's get back to some comments then. And I'm going to get to some road signs now. Okay, so the road signs we have on screen here, if you haven't, Wojciech answered them all there. But number 1, no entry to vehicles. Number 2, mini roundabout. Number 3, keep right. Number 4, pedestrian street. Number 5 is advanced warning of a yield sign. Okay, so a yield sign coming up ahead. Evapu, thanks for mentioning the pedestrian crossing example. Literally what happened earlier this week. Was that you that was emailing me maybe? I can't, must have someone from Carlo. I can't remember, but you're very welcome anyway. Like, I know it's a tricky one because all towns and cities are going to have their own awkward junctions, unique junctions. Wexford is no different. So, like, you know, if you have that pedestrian crossing right before the stop line, you are going to have to stop before the crossing, as I said first, and then creep out to get a better view. Like, you have to creep out to get a better view. That's the most important thing, to make sure you do the junction safely. Creep out over the crossing, even if you're creeping out over, and even if you're stopping on it, that's fine, because you know there's always going to be exceptions in driving. It's like the yellow box. You're not allowed to stop on the yellow box, but you are when you're turning right, and it's the same here, okay? But when it comes to these type of things, folks, I wanted to share a very important tip with you. When it comes to these things, I'll do my best to give you some guidance and answer your questions, but you're always better off seeking the advice of a driving school in your local area, because they'll have the most up-to-date knowledge on junctions in these areas, because very often they're kind of interacting with and consulting with driving testers and the driving tester supervisor, so they're the best people to ask. I can give you my advice, but I'm not going to know the junction more often than not. I'm not going to be aware of it, so it's hard for me to visualize it if I don't actually know the junctions or roundabouts or roads that you're talking about, okay? Lar says, thanks, you're very welcome. Lara, I was emailing Lara during the week as well. Dami McKindy, rented my ADI's car, ADI's driving instructor, for my test. He arrived 30 minutes late, oh dear, went down as non-conducted, and now the waiting list estimator is telling me to wait till April for I'm not surprised there, because some test centres are well over 16 weeks for a retest, when it was February 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you see, the winter time can be a little bit quieter. Look, it's always going to depend on the test centre, but the winter can be a bit quieter, and then as you get into the spring and summer, the kind of waiting list can go up. But they are taking on more testers, okay? There are more testers coming on board, so hopefully that's going to help bring the waiting times down. It's not in the RSA's interest as well to have these long waiting times, okay? So they're going to want to get it down, and that's what the new testers are going to do. So give it a chance. It will come down over the next few months, I'm pretty sure of that. But if your driving instructor arrived 30 minutes late, oh dear, that's not good. You should make sure that he or she pays for the retest, because you shouldn't be out of pocket for that. You know, out of courtesy, that's what they should be doing. Or at least making it up to you with driving lessons in the future or something, you know. I always recommend as well to people that get a driving lesson just before the test, okay? If you get a driving lesson before your test, well, as well as it'll help, the instructor will turn up on time anyway, but it'll just help settle you down. It'll help get you in the right frame of mind, and then, you know, it kind of sets you up nicely for the test. Because if you do make mistakes, okay, well then they're made, and you're very unlikely to make those same mistakes in the actual test that's about to come up. And then if you have a good lesson, a good pre-test lesson, then that should fill you with confidence. So whatever happens, whether you have a bad lesson and you're going to do your test straight away, that's good because the mistakes are done, they're finished, they're over with. You're not going to make those mistakes again. And if you have a good lesson and you drive pretty well, that should fill you with confidence going in. That's why I always recommend get driving lessons, but especially close to the driving test, and particularly get one the hour or so before the driving test. Get you right in the correct frame of mind to nail this thing. Shuvo Khan, just one question. If I can't decide third exit right or straight in roundabout, can I round twice in the roundabout? Can you go round the roundabout? I think you mean. Yeah, yeah. I would rather you do that. Look at, it's not ideal to do that, okay? Shuvo Khan, but I would rather you do that than be unsure and maybe suddenly change lanes or do something kind of crazy or reckless. So it's not ideal if you go around the roundabout again, but it's not a fail. Like depending on the tester, it's not going to fail you. Let me rephrase that. It's definitely not a fail. Okay, if you take the wrong turn or if you go around the roundabout. Okay, I'm talking to a tester about this. Okay, it's not. You might lose a mark or something like that, but it's not a fail. Okay, but the guidance is that they should not mark you for that. Okay, that's what the guidance says, that you do not get marked anything for going the wrong way or taking a wrong turn. Their job is not to fault you or mark you, but just to get you back on track and then continue on with the test. Okay, so I would rather you go around the roundabout fully, rather than take a chance and maybe make a mistake. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's better than taking a risk. John B has his test tomorrow. John, the very best of luck to you. I hope you do it. Let me know if you have any questions. One road at a time. Okay, try to get a lesson beforehand. Familiarize yourself with the car, the technical checks, the engine checks, the heaters, the lights. Make sure you know how all that works. Get yourself off to a good start, and then you'll be in a good position to pass that thing then. Noah Lynn or Line. I have heard terrible stories of friends who done the test in Killarney. They say one of the three examiners is very biased and strict, and I'm slightly worried for my test. Just remember, Noah, a lot of times what we worry about most, the worst never happens, okay? So if there's three examiners there, you have a 2 in 3 chance of not getting them. And remember, he could be in another test centre, he could be off on holidays, he could be out sick. You don't know. So it's important not to think of the worst. Just focus on the positive. Focus on how far you've come. Focus on the good things you're doing, okay? And just do your best, live in the moment, and try not to let your brain get carried away with these kind of things, you know. Evapu says good luck, indeed. Michael, what's the most common questions from instructors nowadays? Well, there's a number of different questions that they could ask you, okay? So, like, they could ask you here about the use of headlights, for example. So, when would you use your dipped headlights? And another question is, when would you dip your headlights? Okay, now they're two very different well, they're I won't say they're very different, but they're different questions. So it's important that you listen carefully. When would you use your headlights, or when would you dip your headlights? Okay, so be careful that you don't answer them wrongly. So you would use your headlights. Okay, your dipped headlights. Okay, you would use your dipped headlights. I would say all the time. Okay, anytime you drive, use your dipped headlights. But specifically, you would use them at night in bad weather like rain, mist, or fog. You would use them in fading light like at dawn and dusk, and any time really to help you see better and be seen by other road users. Okay, that's when you should use your headlights because it just makes you more visible on the road. And then you would dip the lights then at night when you're, say, meeting another car, when you're following another car, or meeting a cyclist or pedestrian on the road. You would dip the headlights then, okay? And you would also dip them, like if you're coming into town, like in a built-up area or something like that, because the street lights will be on then, and you won't need them in town, okay? Because you don't want to have the headlights on when you don't need them. It's not environmentally friendly. It's not necessary, and you don't want to dazzle other people as well. If you're dazzled, then you might be asked, like, if you're dazzled by the lights of an oncoming car, what would you do? Well, first of all, don't look directly at the lights. Look to the left verge of the road, and if necessary, slow down and stop. Okay, as long as it's safe to do so. If you're dazzled by the lights behind you, then you could just flick your rear view mirror to anti-dazzle. There's a little handle on it there that you just flick, or you like either like twist like that, or you pull like that, and that will just adjust the rear view mirror slightly so that you don't see directly out the back window, but rather you'll see a reflection of what's out the back window, but still you'll still see everything you need to see. Okay, and that can kind of help avoid a dazzle if the car behind has their lights aligned wrong, or if they have their full headlights on. Another question that comes up then every now and then is, how would you test that your handbrake is working okay? So you would go, for example, to a hill of some type. You would pull up your handbrake and go into neutral, because when you're in neutral, then that gives the car more scope to roll back and roll forward. And then while your foot is on the brake, you would let down the handbrake, and then you would pull up the handbrake again then. And that's the first part of testing it, just to make sure that it's working okay and that it feels okay, so that it goes down in a smooth way, and that when you pull it up, then that you have the clicks. Like normally you should have between, I guess hard to say, but you should have between 5 and 8 clicks. Any less than 5 clicks when you're pulling it up might be a little bit, might need to be adjusted, and definitely any more than 8 probably means your handbrake needs to be adjusted. Okay, so that's the first case of doing that. I mean, you like look at it visually and see how it feels like, and if it looks or feels a bit dodgy, then there might be a problem with the handbrake. There also might be a problem with the handbrake if there's a warning light on the dashboard that suggests it, but it's more so how it feels. And then on the hill, then when the handbrake is up fully in neutral, just let go of the brake, and the car should hold perfectly still on the hill then once you let go of the brake and it's in neutral and the handbrake is up. So that's how you would test the handbrake that it's working okay. Another learner said, she was asked a question in her driving test: how would you know that there's a pedestrian crossing at night? And the answer, I mean, the general answer there is the flashing amber beacons, or the flashing amber lights. That indicates that there's going to be a pedestrian crossing there at night. But not all pedestrian crossings are going to have these. Like the zebra crossings should have them, okay? The flashing amber lights, and they mean you should slow down and stop for any pedestrians that are crossing or about to cross. But you would have to be also watching out for any like lines or markings on the road, or any signs as well, and they would also alert you to the fact that there's a pedestrian crossing at night. You would watch out for any pedestrians that are standing on the side of the road as well. If they're standing still by the side of the road, that means they might be at or near a pedestrian crossing as well. It might not be marked out very well, but that's possible. But the main thing is, if you see the flashing amber lights, that's how you know there's a pedestrian crossing at night. Other theory questions then that you could be asked will be about the yellow box. Don't enter it unless you can clear it. Exception is turning right. You might be asked about what a clearway is, no parking or stopping during the time shown, keep it clear for moving traffic. You could be asked about road markings such as the broken white line, the continuous white line, the double yellow lines, the broken yellow line, the hard shoulder. Like, you could be asked about speed limits. You could be asked about the motorway speed limit. You could be asked about the flashing lights, the amber lights. Like amber light at traffic lights, stop if you can stop safely. The flashing amber light for pedestrians. You could be asked about the zigzag lines, usually mean no parking, no overtaking. The white zigzag lines mean you're coming up to a pedestrian crossing as well. So there's a number of different questions you could be asked, and it's just about looking over your theory. I have some stuff I can send you as well if you want on common theory questions. So let me know. But as long as you have a good idea of those questions there by reading your rules of the road book, you'll be fine. Okay. So let me see. Noah Line then again. John, you will smash. Yeah, best of luck to you, John. Absolutely. John B. Thanks, Dane. What should I look out for? I'm doing it in Nina, which has the worst pass rate in the country. Yes, Tipperary. I've heard about Nina being a bit dodgy. Tipperary doesn't have a terribly long waiting time, but the pass rates are a little bit. It can be a bit. Look, they can vary in all places. I'm not really sure about Nina, to be honest there, John. It all depends on the locality. That's the type of question you need to ask your your driving school, your driving instructor, like maybe there's some certain junctions there that cause a bit of bother. Maybe there's certain roads there that are a bit of a black spot. Um, all I can say to you, John, is if you do your best, listen to your driving instructor, take it one road at a time, and of course listen carefully to the tester as well. Um, if you focus and concentrate on those type of things, you know your brain then will hopefully block out any nerves, and you will be able to have a good shot at passing that test. Okay. Um, like, is there any particular area of driving that you're unsure of, or that you're weak on? Maybe let me know. Patrick Barcy, just in case, also had a little accident one time with my instructor up the way where the Gory Main Street is. I was turning left on a roundabout and looking everywhere. What do you mean by that now? You accident when I'm around my instructor on the Gory Main Street. I was turning to the left on a roundabout and looking everywhere. So you were probably looking too much, Patrick, were you? Like, if you were on a roundabout, you really need to be just mainly looking to the right. But if you were looking like left, right, up, down, like, I mean, that's unnecessary, and that's what I mean, folks, about like overdoing the observation. Okay, like, you can't get into the habit of doing like all these excessive looks and excessive checks because it's not necessary. It's not the type of thing you do if you're on your own or if you're with your loved ones or with your family or friends in the car. So don't do it in the test. Okay, you have to drive in a way that's realistic and in a way that's practical. John B, waiting. Oh, hang on there, I lost that now. 1 sec. Let me see. Sorry, a few comments there. I'll have to get through these now. Just bear with me, folks. Okay, God, I have a lot of comments to get through here, folks. Let's see, where are we? Okay, I'm going to just find out where I was. Sometimes the comments section kind of refresh and I have to find out where I am, so just bear with me there, folks. And I will get onto some, I'm going on to some signs now as well. Okay, here we go then. Yeah, so that's about Roundabouts. And then John B is waiting since September. Yeah, sometimes some places do have terribly long waiting lists, yeah, which is unfortunate, and have to wait a long time to get another date. You could change test center, maybe. I know some people have changed test centers. Maybe you might have a shorter waiting time. Alien123, hello, hi Dane. Any tips for entering merging on a motorway and how to keep windshield windows clear and smear free? Yes, when you're merging onto a motorway, like, you won't be doing motorways in your test, like, but you should always spend as long as you can in the slip lane and allow yourself time to build up speed in the slip lane. So that means when you do join the motorway, then you're kind of close to matching or nearly matching the speed of cars already on the motorway, let's say. Don't forget to check your mirrors. You could give a quick little shoulder check as well because you can join the lane. And yeah, just practice makes perfect, And then how to keep windshield windows clear and smear free. Yeah, you have to kind of use your windscreen washers, on the wipers there, and you have to just be familiar with how the demisters work. Don't be afraid to give them a clean with like window cleaner, like window lean or one of those things, or one of these flash window cleaners in a cloth on the inside, and that hopefully that will do the job, because there will be dirt and grime that will build up over time. So Noah's been waiting since October. Yes, that's a good while now. We're in January now. Evanpool, I have the same, John, but you have the power to pass it. Indeed, fingers crossed, will go okay. And if not, deal with it then. Exactly, live in the moment. What will be, will be. John B said, I think the driving is about 25 minutes. Yeah, it's about right. And the other 20-25 is where the theory... Well, overall, the driving test, like the driving part is about 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. But then you could spend 5 minutes on the theory and signs, and you could spend another 5 minutes on the technical parts, So altogether, the whole experience could be about 45 minutes, but maybe 30-35 minutes of actual driving. Noah Line, confidence and frequent observations. John, yeah. Take care to listen to the instructions. That's very important. Listen carefully to the tester. Just know exactly where you're going, because when you know where you're going, at least you have some certainty then. So listen carefully to the tester. Kevin Burke, test tomorrow. Hopefully, best luck to you too, Kevin. Yeah, I hope you do it one road at a time. Just believe in yourself. Listen to your driving school. Rajesh Boya on Wednesday has his test. Well, the best luck to you. I hope you do it. Let me know if you have any questions. John B, I'm such a talker to everyone I'm in with the car, so I'll find it difficult to sit there with a passenger and no conversation taking place. A lot of people say that, John, and that's why you have to like try and get some practice. If you're practicing, like try and tell the person beside you, whether it's your mother, father, friend, whatever like that, to say nothing. Have the radio off and try and practice driving in a quiet atmosphere and help get you used to it. Okay, but if you have to kind of look at it this way. You have to focus completely on the task at hand. Like if you're completely and utterly focused on doing the driving test and listening to the instructions from the tester, then there should be no room for nerves or no room for awkwardness because you're so focused on the task at hand. And that's really the secret to doing it, okay? Check out my videos on driving test nerves, and I think they might help you. Quafaf Afraf, I don't know how the hell you pronounce that, but he has his test on Wednesday, and thanks for all of it. You're very welcome. The best of luck to you on Wednesday. A lot of people seem to have their test on Wednesday. Good luck, Marina, and Kevin is absolutely right. Patrick, and I was looking this is on the roundabout. I lost marks on over observation, looking everywhere. Nothing was coming, so I moved. But then, just when I was about to move off, a pedestrian was in front of me. If my instructor hadn't stopped me, I would have killed him. Yeah, so that's a bit unfortunate. That's the trouble. If you're looking all around you, you're in danger of looking nowhere because there's so many things to look at. Whereas if you just zone your observation on the roundabout like this, like straight and left, like straight, so you can see where you're going, and right. Sorry, I didn't mean left. I meant right. Straight and right. That's the main thing, because when you look straight, your peripheral vision will catch anything that happens over there anyway. And when you're looking right, you're actually increasing your field of view and increasing your peripheral vision. So it's not about doing all these dramatic looks. It's about quality over quantity, okay? Lark, I studied a route for a year and was brought on a totally different area. I'd consider going to Finglas. You shouldn't study routes. You should study driving skills and try and be the best all-round driver that you can. And then you'll be able to drive confidently and capably on any roads, hopefully, and not just on a specific route, okay? So that's the way to look at it. Sam, my invite week said end of March and then randomly got offered a date for early February. Yeah, sometimes it does that. Like I don't actually know myself what way this algorithm works, folks, because like the RSA don't tell us anything. They don't inform us on any waiting times or any updates like that. So sometimes the algorithm can throw out a date that you might not be expecting. Excuse me, Michael says, thanks, you're very welcome. My instructor has me losing sight of the curb when I reverse around the corner. That sounds like the way I do it. And then to see it again as I'm turning. Is this correct, or should I have it in view at all? Well, in my opinion, that is absolutely 100% correct, Michael. Now, there's a few different ways you can do the reverse around the corner. The way I do it is like you'd see in my videos. At the start of the reverse, you'll be able to see the curb in your mirror, and you reverse back. Then the curb will disappear. So when the curb disappears, then give it a second or two, depending on the angle of the corner, of course. But give it a second or two, and then turn. And then when the curb reappears a couple of seconds later, you straighten up then, and then just do gentle steers at the end while looking behind over both shoulders. That sounds exactly like the way I do it. If you have the corner in your view all the time, that means that your mirror is probably very low down. Again, it's not wrong, but I don't like doing it that way, but it's not wrong. So there's a couple of ways to skin a cat there. John B says, Dane, have you ever been to Nina? I don't think so. I think once or twice only. I've been to Limerick a few times, and I haven't really been to Nina. It's not exactly wouldn't exactly be the place you'd go to necessarily. But no offense to anyone from Nina, it has the worst pass rate in the country. Maybe it does. Yeah, I thought there's a couple of the Dublin test centres are pretty bad as well. But I don't doubt you. Yeah, I don't doubt you. That's unfortunate. But all you can do is your very best. Okay, folks, let's have a look at some road signs. Now, I'm going to be finishing up here now soon, and I just want to go through all these signs here now again. These are the type of signs that will kind of make you think, and they're not immediately obvious. Maybe they do require a little bit of thought and how to articulate it properly. So if we take it, if we take the signs on the right first, there's only 5 of them on the right there. Okay, just above the my road safety up there. Number 1 is no entry to vehicles. Number 2 is mini roundabout. Number 3 is keep right. Number 4 is a pedestrianised street, and number 5 is advanced warning of a yield sign. Now on the other side here, then 1 to 12. Okay, number 1 is a warning sign. Yellow is warning. Road narrows from the right. Okay, road narrows from the right. Number 2 is also a warning sign. So it's warning you of a possibility of traffic queues. So there could be queues likely up ahead. And that's where it's important to know the sign, because even if you don't know even if you don't know what the sign means, just by knowing it's a warning sign, you could even say that. Like, let's just say you completely blank out. You could say warning of danger ahead or something like that. Like if it's an orange sign, it's roadworks, and if you don't know the answer, just say roadworks. So at least you're saying something, and you're not completely wrong. But hopefully it won't come to that, and you'll know what to say. Number 3 is a cycle path and a pedestrianised zone, but they're in separate lanes. Okay, so separate cycle path and pedestrian path ahead. Number 4 is road narrows from both sides. Okay, road narrows from the left and the right. Now, number 5 is reasonably, I suppose, straightforward, but I put it in there deliberately because, first of all, number 5 means watch out for deer or other wild animals up ahead. Now, the reason I put that in there is because you may well be asked that on your test, because this time of year, is rutting season. Okay, so rutting is like mating season for deers. So you may encounter deers more often on the road at the moment if you're driving in an area like, say, around Killarney or Phoenix Park or whatever, somewhere like that. So just be aware that particularly at this time of year, you could well be asked that. Okay, so number 5 is deer or wild animals up ahead. Number 6 there is hospital. Okay, hospital ahead. Number 7 is the start of the obstruction. The road divides. Okay, number 7 is road divides. So it's the start of the central island or obstruction. So you're entering it, and the oncoming cars are leaving it. Okay, so road divides, number 7. Number 8, level crossing. Okay, level crossing, guarded by a gate or a fence. Level crossing. Number 9 is turn right. It's saying that as in turn right, like now. It's basically a direction sign. Okay, whereas the one number 3 up above over my head there is keep right. Number 9 there on the left is turn right. Number 10 then is a series of dangerous bends ahead. Number 11 is a cul-de-sac or a dead end. Cul-de-sac or dead end. And number 12 then is advanced warning of a stop sign ahead. So it's telling you that there's going to be a stop sign further up, and that you have to be cautious and careful because it might come on rather suddenly. There could be dips and hollows ahead as well. I'm not saying there are, but I'm just saying it's giving you advance warning of the stop sign, because it might kind of appear out of nowhere up ahead, the junction or the stop sign would. Okay, and just remember, folks, as well, it's very important. Like I've answered all those signs there for you, but you also have to think about what you would do in the event of driving past one of these signs. So, for example, if you take number 1 on the left here, the yellow one on the road narrows from the right. So, if you see that sign on the road, don't just kind of see it and then ignore it. Just be aware that the road is going to narrow from the right. So that means that you yourself may have to slow down. Maybe you might have to drop a gear, possibly. You will have to come off the clutch then if you're driving a manual. So come off the clutch slowly, and watch out for any obstructions or anything like that. So don't just know the sign, but just know what the consequences are for the sign. Like number 7, for example, the road divides. That's a good one. That's a common one. Likely you'll be asked that. So if the road divides, it means you're going to be coming into an area where the road is narrower, or there's less space. So you might not have to drop a gear, but you probably will have to slow down. And if you see one of these, it's possible, although not always guaranteed, but it's possible that you could be coming into an area where the speed limit is changing. And we've already had a bit about this today, about people coming into areas when they're not sure if it's a 30 or a 60 sign, or 30 or a 50 sign in town. So if you see this sign here, like the road divides, number 7 over there, this means that the speed limit could go from 60 to 50, or maybe from 50 to 30 or whatever. So very often the sign doesn't just tell you the story on the sign, it tells you a few other little stories as well, you know. Like I said about the advanced stop sign there, that you could have a four-way crosser, you could have a dangerous junction or a blind junction up ahead, and then of course the number 10 dangerous bends. You may have to slow down, maybe drop a gear, and so it's not enough just to know the sign, but make sure you know how you're going to drive just after you see the sign. Okay, so it's very, very important there. Okay, folks. So I'll leave those signs up there just in case you have any questions. I'm going to try and get through all these comments here now, and then we'll try and call it a night very soon. But I'll try and get through them all here. Shane Pertil, I think it is. Hi, Dane. Is it true the RSA have taken on more testers to get through the backlog? Yes, that is true, actually. That is. They were supposed to have taken on 15 new testers last month. This month, January, and 15 more next month to try and get the backlog down, and that's good news. Okay, I'll let you know if there's any more going to be taken on, but that's what I hear anyway, and hopefully that will have an impact. Because as I said to you earlier on, it's not in the RSA's interest to have these huge long waiting lists, so they want to get it down because it doesn't reflect well on them. Okay, so yeah, that certainly is happening. Noah Line, Killarney is my test centre. I've heard from others that testers are tricky, in particular an older woman, and she can be tough. Yeah, sometimes if there's testers there that are older, they might be the older generation, and they might have certain ways of doing things. Let's say a lot of time the newer testers, younger testers are a bit more open, more friendly, more in tune with the real world. Let's say, but it can depend on the test center. Whoever you get, like you can't really control it, so don't accept any nonsense from testers as well. Like, I mean, if you're not sure of any direct of what they say, ask them to repeat themselves. If they're being rude to you, say that's not acceptable. You're paying for the service. This is a public service. You expect to be treated with decency and respect. Because if you accept that and you allow yourself to be a doormat, it'll only keep happening to you and others after you. So don't accept any nonsense from that crowd. Dermot, what does sign 4 mean? Sign 4 means, well, sign 4 on the left, the yellow one, means road narrows from both sides, and over here, sign 4 means pedestrianised street. Okay, pedestrianised street. John B. Yes, that's right. John answered that there. Sorry. Ivanpo, yeah, answered as well. How to Travali? How to find out travel if speed is 30 or 50? Good question. I kind of touched on that earlier on, but you have to treat each road individually. Like normally it's going to be 50 kilometers in town, but 30 kilometers in certain housing estates. You have to keep your eyes peeled. You have to watch and concentrate for any signs, and drive in a way that's practical and in a way that reflects the conditions. Don't drive based on what some sign says. Okay, it's the sign is there to help you. You have to obey like the limit and all that, but you have to be living in the moment and reading the road ahead, like for speed bumps and people crossing and cyclists and that kind of thing. Okay. Wojciech, no. The roundabout sign is actually on the screen. Is mirrored, assuming you are still doing the Irish trail. The roundabout is on the screen. Is mirrored. What do you mean by that? Maybe the way I'm looking at it is different to you. The way I'm looking at it is it's clockwise. Number 2 there. Maybe I don't know if you're seeing it anti-clockwise, but that's okay. John B, yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, but quite possibly. I'll be watching this back a little bit later, so I'll see. The roundabout sign should be basically the way we do it in Ireland, which is you go around a roundabout clockwise. If it's anti-clockwise, that's wrong. Yeah, which it seems to be. Yeah, sorry. So well spotted though, fair play. That's definitely what you call good observation. Okay, where are we now? Shane McGuire, are masks still required for the driving test? Yes, Shane, they are, but like they're not, like they won't insist on you using the mask, but the majority of testers will prefer if you wear the mask because you're interacting with them at close quarters, and they'll provide the masks in the test center as well. You don't have to have your own ones, but Yeah, the short answer to your question is the masks are preferred, but you don't have to wait in the car for the phone call. You can go into the test centers now before the test and wait in the waiting room. Okay. George Jose, can I fix my blind spot mirrors in the car? Yeah, you can. There's nothing really wrong with that. If you have blind spot mirrors, you can have them. There's nothing against that. If it helps you, certainly it's a good idea. Noah Line says, Shane, bring one to be safe. I don't think they are required. Yeah, that's fair enough. Marina Butler again. This is my fourth time nerves and anxiety takeover. Yeah, I can understand that. Last time he failed me on progress. I drove 45 in a 50 zone and 25 in 30 zones, and it was raining, so drove to the road. Yeah, you see, I can understand what you mean. You have to be careful though. Just because it's raining doesn't mean you automatically drive below the speed limit. I mean, generally it's a good idea to drive a bit slower in the rain, but you have to judge it based on the road. So what I'm trying to say to you is, it's a broad area. There's no simple one answer. But even in the rain, you still have to make good progress, okay? Because you still have to show the same level of comfort and confidence. And the way modern cars are now, brakes are pretty good. So if you do need to brake, the car will do the job for you. And so yeah, you just need to be careful there. Some people drive too slow in the rain, and it ends up costing them marks on progress, you know. But I'm not saying you drove too slow, Marina. It sounds like you were just driving 25 in a 30. You didn't do a whole lot wrong, but you know, look, the testers will make a judgment on the day. Yeah, John B is commenting on that as well. Alien123 asks, is a standard procedure for a driving test to last 1 hour? That's very long. My first test lasted 1 hour. I failed on that one. My second test started at 9:15 and finished. It was 9:45. Normally the test should last about 45 minutes, maybe 30, maybe 35, maybe 50 minutes. It will depend on traffic. It'll depend on how busy you are. But an hour seems a very long time, yeah. But although I had a girl out for a test there about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and she was definitely about an hour as well. But that was like at 4 o'clock when schools were when the school rush was on. So it can depend on the time of the day. John B says has test tomorrow. Yeah, best of luck to you, John. Normally go 47, 48 in a 50 zone. My instructor always insisted I go to 50 and stay on 50. Yeah, I'd agree with your instructor. You have to put the foot down, and if it's safe to drive at the speed limit, then drive at the speed limit, and maybe even do 1 or 2 kilometers over the speed limit. But you can't just decide to go 45 or 46, 47 just because you think you're being safe. I mean, the tester wants to see you being confident and being decisive. Now, if it's a bit busier and there's a couple of pedestrians out, you know, there's cyclists or you know bad surface, well then it makes sense to drive a little bit slower too. It'll just depend on the moment though, you know. Alien123 pass second attempt, very good, well done, Alien. John B echoes that. Um, get a good night's sleep. Eat a decent breakfast is good advice from Noah, and plenty of practice too is also good advice. Dermot's in the queue. Best of luck to you, Dermot. Hopefully you won't be waiting too long. John B has a lesson beforehand, which is a good idea. Have to have a lesson beforehand. So worried I'd fail and have to wait so long to get another date. I know how you feel, yeah, I know, but you have to just kind of live in the moment and do your best. Focus on what you can control. Don't focus on what you can't control because there's no point. But I understand your fears. And Noah says the same. Don't speak failure into existence. Positive mindset. Yep, that's the very good advice. Evapu, I'm in the same road. Yep, definitely. I tried to hover over exact speed limit and I end up going slightly over. Yeah, you see, you have to be careful that you don't zone in too much on the speed or speed limit, like because very often the road is going to change and the road will be might be taking a turn onto it, maybe a tighter road where the speed limit is not going to be relevant. So very often you're going to be changing by turning left or right. So trying to put all your focus on speed limits. Moving on then. Trav Ali, many thanks for explaining the sheet. You're very welcome, Trav Ali. It's my pleasure. I hope you got something out of it. And just email me if you have any more questions. Noah then says his Achilles heel is anticipating the roundabouts because lots of people are ignorant in Killarney. In Killarney, a tourist town like Killarney, really. So I see that it is clear because other drivers have indicated off, but then cuts out in front of me. You see, no, I want to give you some important advice here. When you're dealing with roundabouts, you can't rely on people's indicators, okay? Because most of the time they don't have a clue how to use them anyway. You have to try and think about the two S's, okay? When it comes to roundabouts, that is the speed and the space, okay? Now, if they're indicating or whatever like that, that's grand, that's useful. But drivers don't always go where their indicators say, and sometimes if they're not indicating, that's because they shouldn't be indicating because maybe they're going straight. So you don't indicate if you're going straight, at least not on the approach anyway, okay? Two S's, as I was saying, speed and space. So if you're thinking about the cars on the right, are they, will I have to stop? Can I go? How fast are they going? Speed. How fast are they going? How fast am I going? Space. Think of the space that you have. Have you got a big gap? Is it a small gap? Is it a bigger roundabout? Is it a smaller roundabout? And bear in mind the hills as well. Like if they're coming down a hill, they're going to be picking up more speed. But if they're going up a hill, they might be slowing down more and you might have an opportunity to go. So just you have to bear these things in mind. Try not to rely on indicators alone because they'll end up wrecking your head. John B has his test at 3 o'clock. I think that's tomorrow, John, isn't it? In a small, busy town. Is this good? In a way, there will be lots of cars, which means less driving, less chance of mistake. Yeah, you can look at it that way, certainly. You could be more in queues of traffic because it's more slower moving. And then that should give you more time to think and more time to analyse and read the road ahead. So yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Kevin Burke just confirming the green slip has to be visible. Absolutely, Kevin, that's a good point. On the insurance disc, you have to have your green slip on the side. If not, there'll be no test, folks. Very, very important. Don't cut that off, whatever you do. Noah says more anticipation and observation. Always very important. Those two words, anticipation and observations, are very, very important. Your reverse can be a challenge, all right, yeah. But it's just one maneuver though. Don't build the reverse up into everything. It's just one maneuver. It'll be over quick enough. Yeah, and Evapo confirms that. Yeah, John B. I'll be doing it in an estate. Is this the reverse? Is it? I think so. It will be the finest. And in my 3-point turn, if I hit the curb, fail. No, if you hit the curb, it's not a fail. I was mentioning that earlier on in the stream about the other another guy who did his test and he hit the curb on the turnabout, and the tester had to let down the handbrake for him or pull up the handbrake, whatever it was, and he still passed his test. If you hit the curb, it's probably going to be a mark, and let's face it, you probably deserve a mark for it. But it's not a fail. Unless you go mount the curb at speed, then it'll probably be a fail because it's a dangerous one. But if you just hit the curb or just graze it or just brush off it, don't think of it as a fail, okay? Keep your focus, keep your concentration, and don't let the negative thoughts swirl around. Noah confirms that as well there, yeah. And as Noah says, it's certainly best to avoid. It's certainly best to avoid hitting the curb, of course. That's why if you're doing a turnabout and you're going forward, let's say, just make sure you're going extra slow the closer you get to the turnabout. The closer you get to the curb. So when you feel that you're getting close to the curb, just go a little bit slower, and that way, even if you do hit the curb, you're just going to give it a gentle little tap. And the same reversing. Reverse fairly normally, okay? Just reverse at a normal speed. Don't forget to look behind you. But then when you get really, really, really close to the curb on the turnabout, and you feel that you're getting close to it, like just take it slow, just really, really slow, and this will give you an opportunity to get more looks in. And then even if you do hit the curb, as I said, it'll only be a little tap and it won't be a big deal. Plus, the slower you go, the less likely you are to hit it, because in your head you're thinking, oh, "Okay, I'm still moving. You're probably gonna stop anyway because it feels like the right thing to do, you know." Okay, Lab says, "Hey, passed my test first time. Congratulations! I'm glad the videos helped you, Lab. Well done to you. That's great news." John B. Then, my instructor doesn't do the 1, 2, 3 rule. That's fair enough. Then he used to pull me up for it. One is first gear, I guess in one gear stick. 2 is indicate because you got 2 indicators, and then 3 mirrors and blind spot. And I sometimes call it. I've kind of gone to calling it now, John. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 being the blind spot, because the blind spot is in your 4 o'clock area, outside over the right shoulder. Your 4 o'clock area. That's why I call it 4. But yeah, that's the way it's done, because that way you see your mirrors and your blind spot is more up to date if you do it last. You see, you're saying there, John, that the instructor makes me do first gear, mirrors and blind spot, and then indicate last. Is it indicate last? Is that what it is there? Okay, that's a bit strange. But if it works for you, that's fine. Like, but I would be getting the mirrors and the blind spot last because it's more up to date, and I'm indicating beforehand to let people know in good time what you're doing. And the indicator is just an indicator. Like, it doesn't give you right of way. It's just letting you know what goes on. Anyway, that's what works for me. But uh, each instructor will have their own way, like, and it's not that they're wrong. There's all, as I said, there's always a number of different ways to do the right thing. Yeah. So just moving along there, then. Let me see. I'm just going to get down through a few comments here, folks. I'm going to skip a few here. John B says, my father and my instructor also believe I should pass. Yeah, you'd be well able, John. I'm sure you're well able to drive. Just think how far you've come, okay? Think of all the good things you've done. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't control, okay? You can control your driving tomorrow. No better man. Acknowledge the tester. No, you don't have to acknowledge the tester. Like, if he says take a left or take the second exit roundabout, you, the learner driver, you don't have to acknowledge him saying yes, okay, I understand. You just have to listen to him and don't say anything. Just don't say anything to him. Focus on where you're going. Focus on what you're doing. Do not have to acknowledge that tester. No, unless he asks you to. But normally the tester will give you the directions and he's not expecting any acknowledgement. No. Noah asked about pass rates. I'm not sure, actually. I haven't to look that up. I'm not sure if they do the pass rates. But no, I think they do. I think it's on the RSA website, Noah. So if you go onto the My Road Safety or the RSA website, you should be able to find that. Yeah, moving on there, folks. Let me see. Mystic Maniac says, I think you're overthinking things too much, John. You might be, John. Yeah, careful. You don't want to overthink. You might get yourself in a bit of a state. You remember, just live in the moment. Don't be letting your thoughts run away with themselves. Yep, Evapu says it's on the RSA website. I think I saw it there recently. Yeah, indeed. Zach Osman, hi Dane. Must I stop in second gear, or is it okay to stop in any gear? I understand it's good to stop in second gear, but I find it a little complicated when changing down gears when stopping at lights. Yeah, normally it's a good idea to stop in second gear, because if you're coming to lights and you're in second gear, let's say, I don't know, 25, 30 meters from the line of where the traffic lights are, if it changes to green, then you're kind of in a good position to keep going, because you've slowed down gradually to second gear. So if you get what I like to call a lucky green, it goes green at the right time. The fact that you're gotten on the second gear means you can comfortably proceed then, because you're getting down the gears. Whereas if you're getting into this habit of stopping in third or fourth, and then you get a lucky green, well, then you're going to have to change down anyway, and it could cause the car to struggle or jerk. But if you brake, I'm not sure it can be complicated when you're learning. I know that, like, from teaching people, but if you're experienced and you get more experience, it shouldn't be too complicated. As long as you slow down early, slow down gradually, and give yourself time, it shouldn't be a big deal, okay? Noah Line asks also, if another driver lets you out in front of them at a junction, should audibly say that, thank you, in case the tester thinks you went out dangerously. Well, you see, no, you have to have faith in the tester, that the tester's going to be watching these things as well. The tester's not going to be like asleep or anything like that. He or she is going to be watching these things. But if you want to audibly say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, like, yeah, and the same with traffic lights. Like, if someone lets you go turn right, you can certainly verbalize that. It's not a big deal. You can certainly do that if you want to. It's no problem at all. And if somebody does let you out, you can still go, but don't rush out and just pull out. Like, make sure you do extra looks just to make sure that it is safe to go. Shane Pertle, Dane, is it true the RSA have taken on more Yes, I think I answered that. I'm not sure if it's the same comment, but yes, the RSA have taken on more testers to try and get the backlog down. John B, my instructor always told me, always stop in second gear. That's exactly what I say. Never go to first unless fully stopped, but different scenarios, different instructors. Yes, you'd normally stop in second gear, and then you go to first gear after you stop. But if you're at certain type of awkward, tricky junctions, you could roll up in first gear then. So if it's a blind yield junction on an uphill, let's say, it is good to get down to first gear just before you stop, say a second or two before you stop, because that just gets you in the right position then just to creep out, okay? But normally stopping in second gear is the best thing, yeah. Evap, who says he had one instructor who said you could stop in any gear, yeah. But I've heard others say stop in second. Yeah, normally it's better to stop in second gear, as I said, because you're just more you're kind of if you get down to gears one by one, you're more in tune with the car. The gears are matching the car speed. But you could stop and there's nothing really wrong with stopping in a high gear like third or fourth if you want to. Um, but then if you're stuck for time, you could always skip a gear. You can go from fourth to second. It's not a terribly big deal as long as you have control and as long as you show smoothness. It shouldn't matter too much, to be honest. John is not the biggest fan of the mini roundabouts. People always drive through them. Yeah, people can be careless. The ones that are painted on the ground. Like if you're driving a small car, you should go around the white thing. You should not go over them. Like if you're driving a bigger van or a truck or something, then it's acceptable to go over the white thing in the middle. Then okay. But cars should go around the white thing and not drive over the white center circle. Evapu then, I guess as long as you're safe, indeed. Restopping in different gears, true, safe and smooth, yeah. No, and John B, you can certainly skip a gear on the way down. There's nothing wrong with that. But just be careful because it is quite a jump, and you want when you're coming off the clutch, just make sure you come off really slowly, and very importantly, you slow down first before you drop a gear because you have to be careful with the car jerking and jumping. Dermot asks, what does the fourth sign mean, Dane? Did I answer this? Did you ask that already? Sorry. The fourth sign on over here, the white one, is pedestrianised street, and over here is the road narrows from both sides. John B, yeah, says that there as well. And Noah says Killarney has a 52% pass rate, same as Wexford actually. The majority of test centres in Ireland have approximately a 50% pass rate, give or take. Like some are a bit higher. Some of the rural test centres have a higher pass rate, and some of the more urban ones, then like in Dublin, have a lower pass rate because there's going to be more hazards, more busier roads, and maybe more complicated junctions in the bigger towns and cities. Okay then, so I'm just going to try and fly through the comments there, folks. Some people are commenting, and some people are just asking questions. So, Dermot asks, 3 and 4 are both pedestrianised areas. No, 3 is keep right. I really should have numbered these differently, shouldn't I? I should have numbered them 1 to 17 or something instead of this. But above my head, number 3 is keep right. Above my head, number 4 is pedestrian street. And number 3 over on the other side here is shared pedestrian. Sorry, is a cycle path and a pedestrian path, but they're separated into different lanes. Let's say so. A separated cycle pedestrian area. Donegal Town 61% pass. That's pretty good pass rate. Unfortunately, Dermot failed. Sorry to hear that, Dermot. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. We all I failed first time. It is what it is. I always say there's no such thing as failure. You either succeed or you learn. So hopefully you learned a lot on that one. Nace has a 52% pass rate. Yeah. Lab says passed first time. Well done. Don't worry about the pass rate. Worry about your ability to drive. Absolutely. Focus on the moment. Yeah. Wojciech says Noah and John. The place I passed my test had 25%. Jeez, that's pretty good. Wojciech, where was that? That's a very low, very low pass rate. I tried to get Noah says I tried to get 2 to 3 times a week, for half hour at a time. Is that practice? I think maybe you mean. Yeah, John was asking about that as well. Where's that 25% pass rate? He's talking about Poland, and that's Łódź in Poland, a place I'm going actually very soon. Łódź. It's not Lodz, it's Łódź. So just confirm that's right there, Wojciech, will you? Okay, tips on avoiding the hatch in a big 3-lane roundabout. Yeah, don't go into them, okay? Watch the road markings. Hatch lines mean you need to keep out of them if you can. And that's where practice comes in, and being aware of them, okay? Dermot says, I'm trying to book my test now, but it won't let me into the site. Are you on an iPhone or an iPad, Dermot? Because sometimes I'm hearing stories of people who are having trouble with the RSA site because they're on Apple devices. Other than that, I'm not sure what the problem is, to be honest with you. It could be an internal RSA issue. I'm not sure. Aaron Byrne, best of luck to you, Aaron, next Monday. Is that tomorrow or the following week? But good luck to you anyway on your 4th attempt. John B as well is saying he has his lab. I rented my instructor's car for the test and comes with a 1 hour pre-test. Absolutely, that lesson before the test is so important. Get you into the zone, you know, get you focused. And if you make mistakes, they're over with. And if you do well, it fills you with confidence. That's what I always say. It's good to get the lesson the hour before. It's good to get the lessons closer to the test anyway, so the information can be fresher in your head. Gloria says the videos are helped. Thank you, Gloria. I'm glad to hear that. Best wishes to you. Aaron Byrne again. Honestly, it was like a different thing every time. I almost passed every time. FFS. I'm not sure what did Aaron say? Uh, you were close. It's your fourth time, but it's a different. You're failing on different things every time. And look, that's an important point. Like, people have said to me, like, oh, I failed on this, and then I did a test next time and I failed on something completely different. That's because every time you drive, you're gonna meet different drivers. You're gonna have different hazards. You're gonna have a different tester probably, and it's always going to be different. Okay, so that's the way it is. Just because you failed on observation the first time doesn't mean that you're going to fail on that the second time. So, you know, it's always going to vary. John B has trouble when doing fifth to sixth gear and approaching roundabouts. I feel slow down way too much, too soon, and the car that was long behind me is immediately behind. Yeah, look, you're going to need some practice there on that then, John. You have to try and slow down gradually, you know. Like, if you brake early and gradually, it's going to help you. And bear in mind the hills as well. Like if you're going down a big steep hill, you'll have to brake earlier. But if you're going on the flatter uphill, you won't have to brake as much. Okay, it's going to depend on the roundabout. George Jose, yes, you can fix the blind spot mirror, certainly, no problem there. Rachel Chloe Mahan, my first test early tomorrow morning. Well, this is going to be a great start of the week for you, Rachel. I think your videos are making me feel more I'm very glad to hear that. Let me know if you have any questions. Email me there, danetyghe@gmail.com. And the best of luck to you. I hope you're getting a lesson the hour beforehand, Rachel. I think that'll help settle you down and get you in the zone. John B, the waiting list is total crap. Like, I waited since September. Testament. Yeah, I've heard stories about this, John. The thing is a bit of a shambles at the moment. Hopefully you'll get it tomorrow anyway, and you won't have to wait too long. Because normally when you have a retest, you should get it within 6 or 8 weeks. If you fail the test, they try and give you a quick retest. Automatic headlights is right. Yeah, that's the way to go. My car has them. Maximilian McCarthy, I have my test tomorrow. Well, the best of luck to you, Maximilian, if I'm saying that correctly. When stopped at a roundabout waiting to enter, do I need to do the center, left, right mirrors when moving off? No, not really. If you're at the roundabout, you need to be focused on the right, okay? So you need to be focused on traffic on the right. So you don't want the mirrors to be kind of distracting you. Because the idea of roundabouts is to keep traffic moving and not to be stopping and doing all these mirror checks, you know. You will have done the mirrors beforehand, hopefully. And if you feel you're going to be stopped for a few seconds and you're not moving off in the next 5 seconds, you can certainly get a couple of mirrors there, alright? But generally on the roundabouts, you need to be focusing on the right. Dermot, what should I do? I am trying to book my test on the website, and the invite expires at midnight. I had to wait to get the latest test possible, as I was waiting until the last day. That's a tricky one, Dermot. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, because the RSA, they don't tell us anything about the website or about if there's issues with it. They'll just tell us to tell the learners to do everything on the My Road Safety portal. If you're having problems and you're having technical issues, Dermot, I would actually ring the RSA tomorrow morning first thing and tell them about your problems with it, okay? And they might be able to facilitate you. Yum Yum says, how would you handle test nerves? By living in the moment, by focusing on one task at a time, by meditating, and by doing breathing exercises. Check out my videos on driving test nerves and you'll know exactly what I mean there, Yum Yum. Sinead Brennan, my dashboard handbrake light stays on even when the handbrake is down. Mechanic confirmed that there are no issues. It's just the light that's the problem. My test is tomorrow. Will they fail me? Well, Sinead, that is a very, very good question. Like, I don't think that's a major problem. But you see, the problem is with these testers, there's no strict yes or no answer because two different testers will see things completely differently. You could have one tester that will kick up and he'll say, oh, health and safety and all this kind of stuff, and he can't go out on the test with you because he sees the light on. Another tester might recognize that it's just a kind of a diagnostic light. It's no big deal. I'll go out. I would always say, Sinead, that you're always better off getting these dash lights switched off if you can. by a mechanic or by some garage or something like that. The honest answer, Sinead, I trust you if you say and your mechanic says there's nothing wrong. I trust what you say. But the problem is the testers, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are just looking for any excuse to cancel your test. So if you turn up for your test tomorrow with that light on your dashboard, unfortunately, you're taking a risk. And I don't really know what the tester will do because there is a bit of discretion. But I'd love if you let me know. Okay, my email is there on screen here just below me, danetyghe@gmail.com. I'd be interested if you'd let me know on that, Sinead, and maybe next week I can share it in the stream. But the best of luck to you anyway. Maybe think about using the driving instructor's car if this light doesn't go off. It's a risky one. Dermot, now the site isn't letting me pass the queue. Yeah, I don't know, Dermot. That's a tricky one. And John B had trouble as well there. Yeah. Oh, I can understand your frustration. Okay, like I said, you might have to ring the RSA tomorrow. Justin Sider, best luck tomorrow. Any last tips? Yeah, don't drive too slow. Don't forget the blind spot moving off. Check your mirrors before indicating, and don't forget to give extra mirror checks if you're changing lanes. Okay, very important to give extra side mirror checks when changing lanes. Let me see, Dermot. Then what will I do if I miss it? Doesn't mean I'm taking off the list. Yeah, you see, if you're not, you can then you can join the list again. Then, Dermot, if you don't book before the invitation expires. Okay, they will get in touch with you again, offering you more dates. Okay. But I think if you're having technical issues, Dermot, I think you really need to ring them. Okay. Because I don't know what goes on with that site. I know they have had technical problems, all right. Let me see then. Just going to get a few more comments in here now, folks, before we finish. Let me see. Yeah, so I'm just going to try and going to be finishing up here soon now. So yeah, I hope you get sorted there, Dermot, on that. Macintosh, I have my test tomorrow, and I'm wondering, is it okay to stay in third while driving a 50? Depends on the car. Normally, if you're at 50 kilometers, you should be in fourth gear. But some cars might be okay in third at 50. Maybe a diesel car or something like that. You have to drive in a way that suits your car. You see, it's not as simple as saying you should be in fourth at 50. Some cars you might be better off in third at 50 for a little period of time. It can depend on the hill as well. On the like if it's a wide road and fairly flat, you should be fine at third, or you should be fine in fourth. Sorry, but if you're slowing down or going up a hill, maybe you might have to, come down to third. It's going to depend on the car. Just drive in a way that where you know your car better. So drive in a way that you know that the car is going to be smooth when you drive it. You're worried about breaking the speed limit in fourth. Well, you shouldn't really. If you just have your foot over the brake, you shouldn't really break the speed limit. But even if you go over the limit by a couple of kilometers, it's not really a big deal. Blind spot mirrors are fine. I mean, people have asked about that. Yeah, you can use the blind spot mirrors. Yeah, if you want, it's no big deal. Gloria says then, well, without any driving instructor, after watching your videos, I passed. That's great news, Gloria. I'm glad that the videos were helpful for you. That's brilliant. You're obviously a very good driver. Is there a separate waiting list for retest? No, if you fail your test, they will send you out. They will automatically send you an invitation within 6 or 8 weeks, depending on where you are in the country. Because some test centers have a longer waiting list. So that's the story there. Any tips on the left-hand reverse? Yeah, take it slow. The slower you go, you'll have more control. Don't forget to look behind you as well. But when you go slow, you have more time to think. Okay. Archer then says, I was passing the bus license this week. Walk around cancelled due to a few snowflakes. Oh, not surprised. At least managed to pass the driving test. Nearly 2 hours around Finglas was absolutely bollocks. You passed. Did he? Oh, he did the walk, but you did the test. Yeah, the bus test can be a lot longer, but that's great news, Arthur. Well done on that. A great day for you. Barbara says hello to you, Jing Dobry or WVHR. George, you can use the blind spot mirrors, George. Yep. Can you dry steer? Barbara asks. My instructor teaches me to dry steer. You can dry steer, yes, but it's bad for tires, you see, because it wears them down unevenly. So while it's allowed dry steering, I don't advise it because it's bad for the tires. It's a bad habit, okay? But if you do it, it's not a fault or anything like that. Any tips on getting the test date moved up? No, unfortunately not. I wish I had, but unfortunately they'll just tell you to go on the website myroadsafety.ie and do everything on there. Unguarded level crossing is 8. Number 8 over here is a level crossing that's guarded by gates or barriers, okay? So it's a protected level crossing, number 8. Gloria then says, thanks, I would recommend the videos for anyone planning to take a driving test. Thank you very much, Gloria, I'm glad to hear that. Mystic Maniac, I got 11 on my first test. I had no idea what it was. I just guessed T-junction. Number 11. Yeah, a lot of people say number 11 over here is T-junction, but no, the red thing on the top is the thing there that's meant to differentiate it, because that's a dead end, okay? But yeah, you have to try and prepare and study the signs as best you can, but number 11 is a cul-de-sac or a dead end, okay? Let me see. Queevlex, I think it is. My driving instructor loves you. That's great. He tells me to only watch your videos for trial. Tell him I said thank you very much, Queevhelix, if I'm saying that correctly. That's great. I just like making the information there available so people can help get themselves past the driving test. But appreciate that. Thank you. Dermot, making some progress. Good man, Dermot. Where can I find you? Where can you find every sign you need to know before? Well, you have to buy the RSA Rules of the Road book. That's the best place to go. You can download it online as well. I have a question. Do you have to do you have to exaggerate your mirror checks? No. You have to just look in your mirrors in a normal and practical way. You do not have to exaggerate your mirror checks. Remember, the driving tester is sitting right beside you, and unless they're blind, they'll be able to see what you're doing, okay? So Dermot says the best time to do a test. Well, probably 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:15, because the roads are usually a bit quieter then. That's usually the best time to do it. But if you're good enough to pass, you'll pass at any time, I believe. Katie struggles with positioning. Often things are too close to the left or right. Is there any reference? But yes, if you check out my video I made there a few days ago, Katie, on driving test tips, it has the sunglasses on the thumbnail. You'll have a great tip on that, okay? Evapo asks if it's not overly icy or frosty on the day. Probably 10 or, yeah, but about the times 10 or 11 is a good time. Indeed. So Dermot is still trying to do this book his test. So best of luck, Dermot. I would say 9:15, 10:05, any of those two would be good. Yeah, maybe 10:05 might even be better, just in case there's a bit of late school traffic. Yeah. So that would certainly be a handy enough time, I'd say, yeah. Lahari, I think I'm confused with two signs. Humpback Bridge and speed bumps have the same similar signs. Yeah. Which one should we answer? You could just answer, either just say it's a speed bump or a humpback bridge. Sometimes the humpback bridge will have a little kind of a little square underneath the hump. But if you answer speed bump or humpback bridge, or just say a rise in the road, you'll be fine. Number 11 roll. Hi Dane, already passed but got notification you'd gone live. Oh, this video, sorry. Just wanted to say the work you do is invaluable to a load of folks. That's my pleasure. All the best for the channel. Your content is the best out there. Thank you very much. That number 11 roll. Appreciate that. Thank you. I'm just glad to make the information available out there so people can achieve their goals and become better drivers. So it also means I can make a living on YouTube, which is good. I don't have to get a regular job then, and it doesn't really feel like work. So I think it works out well for both of us. John B, do grade 1s mean that? Well, grade 1s are just minor marks, that's all. They don't impact on the overall result, but they do count insofar as I'll get that test sheet back up there now, sorry. Here we go, the grade 1s here, folks. So the grade 1s are minor marks, so they're not serious, and they don't count to your whether you pass or fail. But obviously you don't want to get too many of them, because if you get too many of them, they might eventually evolve into grade 2. So, but they are minor marks essentially, yeah. Okay, let's see then, folks. Just going to get through the last couple here then. Ollie Eats, is it? Says thanks for the videos. Great, my pleasure. Ollie Eats, if I'm saying that correctly. I'm glad you find them useful. Much Yarjik, I think. As you know, Dan, your videos are very helpful. That's great. Can't stop watching them and preparing my mind for my driving test coming up in a week in Mullingar. Keep going. Happy to listen to you, Matt. Well, very best luck to you, Matt, in Mullingar. I think I was emailing you. Let me know how you get on, okay? And the best of luck to you. I hope you do it. Gary Waters, hello, how are you? I'm going for my theory test next week, and I'm looking forward to it. Keep passing on the app. That's great news, yeah. So that's you look like you're preparing pretty well there, Gary. So keep doing the practice tests on the app, and that'll set you up then for the real thing. So best of luck to you. Shane Pertle, thank you very much, Shane. You sent a tip on Revolut. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. And if anyone wants to support me, they can do so by Revolut or PayPal. Links in the description. But appreciate that, Shane. Thank you. And if you've any more questions, just let me know. Okay then, folks. Let me see. I'm gonna try and get through the last of the comments here now. I've been testing the 10th. Aaron Carter. Best of luck, Aaron. Check out my videos on driving test nerves. I think they'll help you. Rachel Murray just passed. Thanks for the tip. You're very welcome, Rachel. Well done on passing. Cheers. I assume you should check your blind spot though. Yes, Shane Pertle, you should check your blind spot when moving off. Yeah, and a quick glance, a quick shoulder glance, changing lanes, but not too much. It depends on what you're doing there as well, Shane. Hamad, if there's a cyclist ahead of you, do you have to overtake? Yes and no. It depends on if you have space, if it's safe to do so. But if you have enough space ahead of you, you should overtake the cyclist once it's safe to do so. You are allowed to cross the continuous white line to overtake a slow vehicle like a tractor or a cyclist, as long as you can come in and out in a safe way. Okay. Because look, you have to be practical. You have to be flexible. You can't stay behind slow vehicles forever. We have to keep traffic moving as well. Yeah, the blind spot check to show. I think Evapo was talking about to Shane about the blind spot. You can use if you have blind spot mirrors, they can be used. Yes, Adam, best of luck tomorrow, 11:05. Let me know how you get on. So hope you do it. Then who's asking about Adam is asking about number 6 and 9. Oh, let me get them back there. Sorry. 6 is hospital, 9 is turn right. Okay, 6 is hospital, 9 is turn right. Oh yeah, sorry, Evapo said it there. Yeah. Adam Donovan says time. Best wishes, Adam. Number 12. Someone answered the point. Number 12 is number 12 is advanced warning of a stop sign. So it's telling you a stop sign is coming up. In the next, say, 50 or 100 meters, advanced warning of a stop sign. Tessa Gillian Almonte from Limerick, exam on 15th of February. Thank you for the videos. You're very welcome, Tessa. I hope you do it. Best of luck to you. Bupati Sumbasafam. Hi, Dan. Thank you so much for the tips. It's very helpful. February the 9th is my 4th attempt. Okay, so best of luck to you. Failed 3 times for different reasons. Turns, progress, and roundabouts. I hope I will clear it this time. Well, let me know if there's anything you're worried about there, and I'll email you back. Hopefully you'll have learned from the previous experience. Make sure you get some driving lessons from a professional driving school, and that will help you big time. Okay. Adam Donovan asked, will I get marked if I let the car stutter while driving in second or two? Yes, you could get marked if you let the car stutter. It probably won't cost you anything major, but it probably will be a mark. Okay, so try keep the car nice and smooth, not to have any shakes or jerks. That's my best advice to you, Adam. Evan Murray, hi then, passed first time. Thanks for the great videos. You're very welcome, Evan Murray. Well done. Congratulations. Anita Blum, hi all. How long does the driving test part take? I hear anywhere from 50. Look, the driving test itself, the driving part will usually be about 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. And there might be an extra 10 minutes in there for your theory and technical checks. But if it's a busy time like 4 o'clock or school time, it could take a bit longer, you know. But generally speaking, the driving part is about 30 to 35 minutes, okay? So that brings us to the end there, folks. I'd like to thank you all for being with me. I hope I've helped to clear up some confusion. I want to wish you all the best with your driving and good luck if you have a driving test. And remember, there's no substitute for getting lessons. I'm glad you find the videos useful, but make sure you get driving lessons and practice as well. So thanks for being with me, and very best luck to anybody out there doing a test. Drive safe and have a good week.